Hi everyone, this is Emma, aka Angel Rose from twinflameinfinity.com. So my video today is going to be about dissociation because I think it's quite an important topic to cover, especially in awakening and as well if you in the early stages. So dissociation is when we kind of get a floaty feeling. It can feel like we're on the outside of our life looking in, like we don't feel attached to things, kind of like a disorientated feeling. So it comes about normally in childhood when we've experienced abuse, traumatic abuse. And our mind, because a child can't cope with that, it will naturally dissociate. So it'll go in like an out of body experience. So if you've had any memories and you're like hovering over the memory rather than you being that person, that's dissociation. And it means at that time you kind of left your body, and as a coping mechanism to deal with what was happening. So this causes the brain, it can cause the brain to split, which creates alters in the mind. And then these alters can then be programmed. So sometimes the abuser is aware of what they're doing and they will program these alters as they see fit. Other times it's just the way it's happened, and then because of what you're experiencing, those alters will then take on kind of what they're being taught. They'll start accepting it as normal, or they'll think that it's happening to them because they're bad. You could have lots of feeling of guilt if you don't do what the abuser says, and things like that. And then that will carry on into adulthood then, especially if you move into an abusive relationship as you get older, which is quite common because you kind of used to that abuse. You're used to conforming to it. You kind of feel like that's just your life, it's the way it is. So it kind of becomes normal. And what we need to do is realize that it's not normal and start to reprogram the brain and kind of learn to love ourselves, learn to find our self-worth, realize that we don't need to put up with that, we don't deserve it. These are thoughts that have been implanted somewhere along the line, which then turn into beliefs. And then this runs into law of attraction as well, because obviously it affects how you're manifesting things, as in, are you making your dreams come true, or are your worst fears coming true? So there's lots of reasons why you would want to start kind of bringing yourself back into alignment, not only for your own peace of mind, but for your ascension purpose, and also for, like I say, law of attraction, and starting to build up and structure the life the way that you do want it, abuse free. And it is possible. I had an abusive childhood. I then went into an abusive marriage. I had lots of things happen, and I will talk more about this in another video to try and give you an example. But right now I'll just try and stick to the point. So I went into an abusive marriage, and it did feel like they were my children, it was my life, but it did kind of feel like I was looking in a window sometimes at it, like it wasn't really mine. And then when I thought about memories, it was like they didn't feel like my memories. They felt more like a story I'd been told, and I was just remembering that story. So we kind of go into it because of the thoughts that have been programmed in our mind that we've learned to believe. It kind of keeps us stuck. It keeps us in that cycle. We feel trapped, we feel like we can't do anything, and really it's just a prison in your own mind. That's not true. We were born to be free. We were born to live the life we want. We were born to live in joy and happiness, and we're not here to be abused by people or to be used by people. And if you're going through an awakening and an ascension, then you will start, if you haven't already, realize that. because we can't be dissociated and ascend at the same time, because there's a lot of traumas attached to that. There's a lot of negative thinking. We might still have hate in our heart. And we want to try and get to a place where we have love in our heart, especially for ourselves, and we can kind of let the past go and move into the new life that we do want. So there's lots of ways you can come out of dissociation. It does go hand in hand with my video I did on, it's gone out of my mind, soul retrieval, which is basically connecting to your inner child. Your inner child is the one that's holding all these beliefs about themselves, feeling like they believed it in a way, they deserved it somehow, they've done something wrong. So it's connecting to that inner child, as I talk about in the soul retrieval video, which I'll link below. And as well as pulling all the soul fragments that leave us every time we go through a trauma, we also need to do that for the mind as well. So it's putting the mind back into place, collapsing those altars down and becoming as one. So you're aligned from head to belly button, basically. So the ways you want to do that is, as I say, connecting with the inner child, talking to her as well as yourself, and telling yourself that you didn't deserve the abuse. We have the power to change memories as well. So you could go into the abuse as that child, relive it, because we have to feel it to heal it, unfortunately. But it doesn't take much. Like we kind of go through life trying to avoid those memories and feeling it and remembering it. And it feels like it could completely consume us. But actually, when you get to a certain place, as long as you're feeling strong, I really don't recommend this if you're not in the right frame of mind. You need to be feeling quite grounded. So taking in your 3 deep breaths, grounding into Mother Earth, and not really doing it on a bad day. And then connect to that inner child, connect to those memories, and as I say, you could change them. So if something bad happened, you picture yourself going in and removing the child from the situation, i.e. you, from the situation, and that kind of changes it. And we don't realise that we can actually change our memories, and by changing our memories of what happened, and then we start believing that actually we were rescued in that situation, it has a knock-on effect up the timeline into now. And then we start thinking, that we were rescued from that situation, and in a way it rescues that inner child from the situation that's reliving every single day, because you go into an out-of-body experience, the child, you that actually experienced it, gets stuck in that memory, which is why it's recurring, which is why it's trapped there, which is why you have all the negative emotions attached to it. So you're kind of taking her out of the situation. It's the same principle as what I discuss in the soul retrieval video. So you're bringing her out of that, but you're doing it in your mind. Rather than calling your soul back, you're doing it in your mind. So you go through, do each memory that you will remember. As you go along, more will start coming up. It's part of your awakening. There probably will be repressed memories that you have completely forgotten about that will come to the surface for you to heal. But by the time that happens, you will have the tools that you need to be able to deal with that and process it a lot better. So as I say, it does seem really hard to do, but when you face it and feel it, you can actually do it in like an hour or something. It doesn't really take that long, especially if you're equipped with tools to do it. And don't let it consume you, don't let it take over you. See it as you're doing it from the outside looking in. You're that child, the child's rescuer, really. So you're not getting consumed by it, it's not overtaking you, so that you go into a wealth of depression, things like that. I do teach the tools that you need, if you do need any help, I am a spiritual healer. So you can contact me if you'd like to make a booking. If you go on my website, twinflameinfinity.com, I do have a special on at the minute, and I also work with people on low income. So if money is an issue, please don't hesitate to get in touch, because there is ways we can work around that. My aim is to reach as many people as I can. So I know how hard it is. Like, in the beginning, I didn't have a lot of money, and there was people I wanted to see and I couldn't, because money was a barrier at that point. So I am fully aware of that, and I make it part of my mission to be able to help as many as I can. So, as I say, if you do feel like you need help with this, then you can book a session with me and we can go through it together. So that's basically what I wanted to say really today. Just keep working through it as much as you can. If you are in an abusive relationship and you can't leave right now, try and spend as much time as you can away from the abuse. So if you can lock yourself in your room without getting hassled, or you haven't got little ones running around, do that. If you have got little ones, maybe do it when they're in bed, or if they're at school, and just really focus on you, telling yourself that you did not deserve it. You still do not deserve it now if you're going through it. And you will gradually get stronger and stronger, and you will be able to realise that there is a way out of that abuse. You don't have to stay with it forever. And your kids certainly don't need it. They deserve to have a mum that's happy or a dad that's happy, because, this can happen to both men and women. They deserve that, and they deserve not to grow up thinking that abuse is normal and it's acceptable, because it really isn't. So the sooner you learn your own self-worth and realise that you don't deserve it, love yourself, be your own best friend, tell yourself the things you would tell your best friend, and, really focus on your self-care and building yourself up. A thought becomes a belief in around 21 days. So within 3 weeks, you could completely turn things round. You won't be fully healed in 3 weeks, but you'll be on the flip side of it. So then the rest of your journey then is about getting better each and every day. And it really doesn't take long. So I hope I've explained everything all right there. If you do have any questions, do get in touch on my email, or you can chat live to me on my website. If you would like to make a booking, then obviously you can go through my website or email, and I'll put all the links below. And I'll also put in the link for my video for soul retrieval. So that'll give you more of an idea of what you're doing. So you could do that at the same time if you haven't done this yet. You could do the soul retrieval, but at the same time, focus on it in your mind as well. So you're bringing your mind back together as one, collapsing those altars down, and releasing your inner child really from the horror that it went through. So as I say, I'm here if you've got any questions, if you need to get in touch. And I shall see you in the next video. Namaste.